This is the first court I was ever at in the United States. And when I walked into this court, I was astonished, like viscerally. Every defendant was a person of color. I'm an art therapist and I spend all my time in court. I realize that if you want to help young people who are disenfranchised, who are underserved, and have experienced trauma, you're gonna have to help them with court.
Supportive judicial system.
I'll conclude. In addition to these factors, it's important to note that many of the youth who are currently involved in the juvenile system are duly involved in both the Department of Child Welfare System as well as juvenile criminal justice. Juvenile courts have jurisdiction. The cradle to prison pipeline is directly related to looking at issues of systemic racism, white supremacy, and paternalism in the child welfare system, which has become, unfortunately, one of the main feeders to the juvenile and criminal regulatory systems now that many advocates, unfortunately, but perhaps appropriately characterize as the juvenile and criminal injustice systems. 72% of the youth who were committed to the Massachusetts Department of Youth Services between 2010 and 2012 have been involved in the child welfare system. The predominant approach in child protection has been removal of children. Now, given the fact that the majority of cases that we see involve allegations of neglect as opposed to overt allegations of inflicted injury, what we would call abuse, issues of implicit bias, subjective discretion rear their ugly heads.
I became very aware of a trend that pathologizes and condemns parents of color. But if the same problem occurs in a white family, then the sense is this is a family that needs help. They have it in their head that if you're a family of color and you do something, it's because you're lazy or you don't care.
The persons who are screening these reports, if they don't have cultural humility, cultural competence, a lot of assumptions and judgments could be made that can result in inappropriate surveillance of black and brown families, the same type of surveillance that we see within black and brown communities. There's an analogy that's been made between stop and frisk and reporting of alleged neglect cases in child welfare.
The more you malign the defendant, the more you create this narrative of dangerousness about them, the more of a hero you are. DCF makes decisions. They don't involve the parent, and they don't involve the collateral agencies that have the strong alliance with the family.
Dramatic reform is needed. If we're going to intervene, we first think about supporting families and children in their community. It's important to respond to real abuse and real neglect. It's as important to have a good filtering system and to be fair and equitable about it.